We hit the ground running on the discussion segment that is all about the hashtag free Nnamdi Kanu protest that was led by Omoyele Sowore yesterday that crippled economic activities at the FCT. And of course, discussing this with me in the studio, at my extreme is a seasoned legal practitioner, a Notary Public of Nigeria constitutional lawyer, and former SSA to the governor of Edo State, strictly on legal matters, Adams Aliyu. Big thanks for coming, Adams.
Thank you, moderator. Good day, viewers.
And next to Adams is also another fine legal practitioner, a policy analyst, and of course, always thunderous when it comes to giving his comment on it. And he is Emmanuel Obakolo. Big thanks for joining, Emmanuel.
It's a delight being here. Good morning, Philip. Good morning, Nigerians.
Well, I did promise you we're going to be having an array of legal practitioners. And joining me from Abuja is Damisa Itote, a fine legal practitioner. Good morning, Damisa. Well, I'm yet to get connectivity from Damisa, but also joining me from the United States of America is a political analyst, a social media influencer, Ahmed Momodu. Good morning, Ahmed.
Good morning, Philip, gentlemen, and greetings to Nigeria.
All right, I think you heard that. Basically, we will be having Damisa Itote to also, make his presence known as the show progresses. But let's get your thoughts, our constitutional lawyer here in the studio, because we understand that protests are supposed to, peaceful protests basically is what we are about. But protests shouldn't be hijacked or stopped by law enforcement agents, or citizens shouldn't be tear gassed. What transpired yesterday, really was a challenge, most especially when, some protesters were tear gassed for expressing their feelings over the detention of the IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu. Although we heard reports by the police force that said they got a restraining order, to stop the protests from getting to critical structures of the Aso Villa. But again, does it amount to tear gas and protesters? What does the law say in all that transpired yesterday, and what are your thoughts?
Well, as a constitutional lawyer, I be guided by the constitutional provisions. Today, in Nigeria, we are practicing democracy. And it was long ago that Abraham Lincoln, 16th president of the USA, who defined democracy as a government of the people, for the people, and by the people. He was a Republican congressman from Chicago, Illinois, which some people call Illinois. And after the American Civil War, America got their independence in 1776, and the Constitution had been on. That gives us 249 years from now, and the Constitution is supreme. Our 1999 Constitution is tailored towards that presidential system, and it is equally paramount and supreme. In fact, by Section 1 of the Constitution provides that the Constitution is supreme. It is binding on all authorities and persons throughout the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And subsection 2 provides that nobody or group of persons has right to take over governance of Nigeria or any part of Nigeria, except in accordance with the Constitution. Our compatriots, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, is alleged to be using IPOB, whether indigenous or independent people of Biafra movements, to create a microcosm in a macrocosm. That his action is mala fide, with bad faith or traveris. And in fact, the federal government even went as far as charging him for treason. And ipso facto, he's now facing trial, which is not bad. Now, the free Kanu movements led by Sowore, as it were, is in consonance with Chapter 4, Section 33 to 46 of the Constitution, which talks of fundamental human rights. Specifically, Section 40 talks of freedom to peaceful assembly. Emphasis, man, peaceful assembly.
Like the one we had yesterday at the FCT.
Yeah,
Peaceful assembly.
Yeah, as it were. But you will remember that many demonstrations, protests, they start peacefully. At Larigo, at the long run, hoodlums will take it over.
No. If you go by that, it then means that there shouldn't be protest at all, because even if it starts peacefully, it may degenerate. So there is need to silence dissenting voices. Is that what you mean?
Now that the Constitution guarantees freedom of assembly by Section 40. So when that is on, to manifest your grievances, you can belong to any political party or any association to protect your interest. That's Section 40. It is against that background that the Free Kano movement went to the streets, albeit against court order, but it's freedom of expression. So when something concerns the populace, there is a provision in the Constitution, Section 211, the power of the Attorney General. I regard the Attorney General as a law to himself. He is very powerful. In the instant case, it is not the parent administration that charged Kanu to court. The parent administration inherited it. But any Attorney General is by virtue of Section 211 entitled to institute a nolle prosequi. Nolle prosequi means no more prosecution. It can do that at any time before judgments. And that is why, if it is pro bono publico, if it is for the good of the public interest and justice, the Attorney General can institute a nolle prosequi, stop the trial, and release Kanu with a firm purpose of maintaining the status quo ante bellum. At least where you leave it like that, we will release you now, don't go and start formitting trouble. When there is that type of understanding, it could be released. But all the same, the matter is sub judice under consideration of the court, as it were. And ordinarily, what we are doing is that we are having fair comments. We are not supposed to do anything to interfere, influence the matter that is before the court, because we still regard the court as the last hope of the common man. So let it be.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, like you said, though our discussions is not going to center on what's happening in the court, but the protest, most especially, like you also said, the restraining order. But I beg to differ that the restraining order wasn't for a protest not to be embarked upon, but was that the protest shouldn't
be violent,
get to critical infrastructures, you know.
Which they did.
But we didn't see that. We didn't see that. Let's get your thoughts about what transpired yesterday, because we still want to understand the fact that, you know, we can express ourselves, you know, we can ventilate our opinions. But what do you see from your legal perspective? What do you see happened yesterday? Do you see that as justice done by the government to the people?
No. I take exception to what my learned friend said. Look, when you look at the extant constitution, section 39 of the extant constitution provide for freedom of expression. Section 40 provide for freedom of assembly. When you marry those two sections together, you will see that protest is guaranteed by the extant constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Then you go to African Charter on Human and People's Rights. Article 9 provides for freedom of expression. Article 11 provides for freedom of peaceful assembly. When you marry the two, Nigeria is a signatory to that, for goodness sake. You know one thing about the sympathizers of this government, of the All Progressive Congress, they are sympathizers and supporters, and perhaps members, will tell you that, look, this government can do and undo, that this government is beyond the reach of the people, that this government can do. Forgetting that, the incumbent president is a chief protester. he once upon a time protested. How? Protest can be by conduct. Protest can be by action. This president protested even by conduct when he was the governor of Lagos State against the government of then President Olusegun Obasanjo. He protested against him by conduct, by action. We saw it. Now, in 2014, we saw him again. We saw the Occupy Nigerian group, where even clergymen purportedly came with placards, and some even made vulgar utterances. We saw where Professor Wole Soyinka described the then president of Nigeria, the person of former President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, as worse than Nebuchadnezzar. But here we have a government that is worse than the combination of Herod, Pharaoh, and Nebuchadnezzar. Worse than them. And yet you see them come, they will paint the toga of sainthood on this government. And somebody is telling me that there was a court restriction. What was the court order? The court refused the order. The government schemingly filed an application that the court should restrain the protest. The court said no, that protest is guaranteed in the extant constitution. However, this is what the court thinks, that within the premises of the presidential villa, that the protest should not get to that environment. That was just the order that was made. But yes, somebody is not taking it. That look, oh, there was a court order. What court order? Did the court restrain protest? The answer is a no. Okay. The answer is a capital no. All right. And now, these same persons who are chief protesters, who protested against a sitting government there, now see themselves that they don't want any form of protest. And that is why you see that at the end of the day, they will come give a lot of corroboration. Do you know there was a counter-protest group? Why did the court order not restrain that counter-protest group? There was a counter-protest group. Why those legitimate protesters were on carrying out their assignment, ventilating and expressing their view and their thought towards the delay. This is a government where we saw that terrorists and bandits are being celebrated. Okay. And yet they are telling me that Nnamdi Kanu did this. Nnamdi Kanu has a IPOP group, group that do this. Okay, we'll get to the where we have the main terrorists in government houses celebrating.
We'll get to the issues of Nnamdi Kanu shortly. But let's get the thoughts. I don't know if we have Damisa Itote from Abuja, a fine legal practitioner. Let's get your thoughts on that. But while we wait for that, let's see your expressions. You know, Ahmed Mamadou. One way or the other, you are in the U.S. and of course you know what it means for rights of the citizens to be guaranteed, most especially when it comes to expressing themselves in through protests. What do you assess the performance of the law enforcement agents that tear gas protesters yesterday? Basically, I know you wouldn't support that, would you?
No, I wouldn't in any way support that. Let me thank you again for inviting me, and I want to extend my warm regards to my team. So, the fundamental principle of democracy is the rule of law and the adherence to every tenet of that rule of law. Now, if we understand that the citizen is the primary responsibility of the government to protect and guard their thoughts and their expression, then there was a breach of that rule of law yesterday when the police opened fire or even tried to disperse peaceful protesters who were neither armed except by placards and the words of their action. So I don't think that there's any excuse or any justification for some of the action for the police that transpired yesterday. However, this is not to say that the protesters were right in the things that they were doing. But it does not abridge in any way their right to peacefully express whatever they feel is a problem with the government, and it does not abridge their right to be heard by the federal government in any way. So I condemn in totality any action that abridges the rights of a citizen to protest peacefully with dignity and to be heard by the federal government.
Well, Ahmed Mamadou, I understand that you basically condemn that act of police force tear gas and protesters, no matter what. But let's also quiz what you said as regards though it doesn't mean that the activity is right. But again, let's look at the aspect where the slogan which says justice delayed is justice denied. Now, Nnamdi Kanu has been incarceration of the DSS since 2021. And of course, that's huge. That's huge. We understand the fact that he has an ailment he's trying to manage, and we also understand that there's a medical team that gave a report before the court that he's fit, that he doesn't stand a risk of being prosecuted, or standing trial. But do you say, or do you applaud the long stay of prosecution, or seemingly denied justice as a result of the number of years that has passed on now, why he's still being detained? Is that right?
No, I don't support that. Two things can be right or two things can be wrong at the same time. Now, but we need to cast our minds back to the fact that when Nnamdi Kanu was first arrested in 2015, which was his initial arrest on some charges that are similar to what he's currently being held under, he jumped bail. And as a consequence, he became a fugitive from justice. He jumped bail, and his shorties lost all the things that they used to secure that bail. So let us not put that aside. This does not also mean that he should be tried indefinitely for a crime that he has committed. But let us also put some of these issues into perspective. Number one is that he was charged to court. Number two is that he used his right to appeal some of the decisions that the court made. And at this point in time, to my understanding as a layman, what is left is for him to now start his own defense, which the federal government has already rested their own case in the prosecution. So if what we are told is correct, what it means is that Nnamdi Kanu has been delaying some of his own defense, and this is the point where I disagree with what is going on. He should come out if he has a defense, state that defense, and then let the judges decide if there's any merit to the charges that were put towards him. And if there isn't, then let him be released. But to keep him indefinitely is wrong. For him not to come out and put his own defense forward, that is also wrong. Two things can be wrong at the same time, and two things can be right at the same time.
A lawyer. Now, we understand how he was arrested earlier, and of course, all that happened. You heard what Mamadou said, being a fugitive, seemingly. But do you see this as justice? Because the DSS, keeping him under detention for years. No. What stops him from being bailed? Yeah, while he goes to court?
Now, two wrongs don't make a right, and we call that in law "e pari delicto." Pari two, delicto wrong. So two wrongs don't make a right. If the trial and incarceration is already 5 years, that is why I am opting for a political solution to this imbroglio. Political solution. When you go judicial solution, the case can linger on for 10 years, which is not good.
But yeah, which is not
more good. Demonstration, protest, and when the protest starts peacefully, you can never tell how long, how it will end. People have died during protests. Police tear gas the protesters yesterday, but luckily nobody was killed, nobody was wounded. But we should not avoid that. That's why I call for political solution. Let the parties involved, maintain status quo antebellum. Let them embrace peace, submit protest letter, and dialogue. The Attorney General, by virtue of Section 211, can institute a login and withdraw the case. The Kanu himself must be remorseful by now. He's a patriot, and one man cannot fight a dozen all by himself. He has made a point. Even the present president was a member of NADECO, among those protesting and demonstrating.
A chief protester.
Those days. So once you don't like anything, Section 40 guarantees you freedom of peaceful assembly and protest. So be that as it be, let there be a political solution. No more spilling of blood, no more killings, no more violence. The call for revolution is extreme. We don't want to go to revolution, kill people who will gain for it.
Okay, you said that there should be a call for a political solution.
Yeah.
By that, do you mean that at least that should also give him some freedom or bail?
Yeah, very well. That is the non-left perspective. If the Attorney General comes in, it's a political solution. He has rights by Section 211 to institute knowledge prosecution at any time before judgment for the good of the public, for justice, and if the legal process is trying to victimize the defendants.
Okay, but do you also see him as a risk going by antecedents?
Oh, you are thinking
to be granted bail.
If he goes away, he will start protesting again. I don't think so. He may have learned his lesson.
Okay. All right. Let's look at that aspect where there's always there's seemingly delayed justice, you know, in Nigerian judiciary. As in, what do you see as clocks in the wheel of progress that keeps judgments, you know, in cases like this so long?
In our criminal procedure, it is not like the village square where you report a matter to the Odiowe. He gives judgment that day. There are processes. File a matter in court. Audio tare pattern is the principle. You must hear from the other side. You must be given fair hearing. And you cannot be a judge in your own case. So, process, examination in chief, cross-examination, re-examination, these ones take time. There's nothing we can do. That is the legal system. If you come to report a case, if I have many clients, when they come to bring matter to me, they expect judgments there and there. I say, no, you have come to lay complaint. Let us, court will hear from the other side. You will be cross-examined. If you have a question, so that's it. But when it is getting monotonous and elongated, that is why I'm calling for a political solution.
Okay, let's. You still have the floor. Let's also get into the issues where you said, though nobody was wounded. I know you don't have a clear report on that to show that nobody was wounded, but maybe I think you meant nobody was having gunshot wounds. Yes. Maybe because the rate at which, you know, law enforcement agents traumatize protesters, you know, in the course of doing expressing their opinions, should be condemned. Most especially, yeah, most especially, you could see the visuals. If only we can have it on the screen, we could see the visuals the way, you know, citizens scampered to safety.
Harmless.
Yes, they were harmless.
No.
And yes, and even some journalists suffered damages. Some vehicles, you know, their windshields were broken, shattered. As a result, as reports have it, as a result of the policemen, you know, shooting directly at the vehicles with canisters. Now, what does the law? Because some have said we don't have a constitution. Some have said so because what comprises our constitution is a product of the military. But again, doesn't the constitution condemn this act? And what do you see as a redress in court against law enforcement agents that have done this injustice to protesters?
There is a constitution. Even if it was written by the military, is he not a Nigerian? Is he a Togolese? Is he an Egyptian? And the constitution is for all. Section 1, subsection 1 says that it has binding force on all persons and authorities in Nigeria. Any other semi-demi quasi bylaw that is not tallying with this constitution is null and void. So, constitution is still supreme. What's already
done to the citizens now that suffered some, you know,
yes, they will be remunerated if it is proved that the policemen acted excessively and they were suffering from military or sentimental flabbiness and started to wound unarmed people. Those the people should be tried, the policemen or defense people, and the wounded compensated to serve as deterrent to others. You are not meant to kill, wound, maim, or disfigure an unarmed foe who is executing fundamental human rights of freedom of expression.
Thank you so much, Adams Aliyu. Adams Aliyu is a Notary Public of Nigeria and, of course, constitutional lawyer and former SSA to the governor of Edo State on legal matters, strictly as he puts it. Well, we are on discussions surrounding the hashtag Free Nnamdi Kanu Now protest by Omoyele Sowore that really met high resistance at the FCT Abuja yesterday. We'll be continuing on this after this short break. Do stay. I still have with me on the discussion as we talk about the free Nnamdi Kanu protest. I still have with me Ahmed Mamadou, a political analyst from the United States of America, Texas, Houston particularly, who is a political analyst and, of course, social media influencer. Ahmed, thank you for sustaining your presence. All right, I still have the presence of the legal practitioner with me, Emmanuel Obapolo. Big thanks for still being here. Now, let's look at what has transpired so far. You heard what the constitutional lawyer said, but do you see the justice system in Nigeria? What do you see as a clock that always have issues as regard having elongated, prosecution of cases in court, and how do we tackle that?
The prosecution in this matter. Firstly, let me quickly opine on something. My learned friend that just left said that, or is it Ahmed Mamadou, that Nnamdi Kanu jumped bay. Nnamdi Kanu did not jump bay. Nnamdi Kanu's family home was attacked, and the man narrowly escaped. And you think he should not scamper for somebody who scampered for his life, and you say the person should come and surrender his life? No. Also, on the side of the government, the court has granted him bail on 2 occasions, even to the extent he was discharged and acquitted. They refused, they brought another charge. Now, come to think of it, what is the charge before the court? Charge of terrorism. Is Nnamdi Kanu a terrorist? Let's take it that the man is agitating.
Well, the case is before the court.
Terrorism?
The case is before the court. It's now left.
And
it's now left for the court to try. But the challenge here is, now it has gotten to the peak where he has to make his defense, anyways. But some have asked, why does he have to delay up to this extent?
By the time he opens his defense now, what the prosecuting team does, the prosecution does, is that they wait. What they do rather, they wait until when it is almost the end of the matter, they'll bring a fresh charge against him. What do you call that? Is that also a legal process to the prosecution of a defendant, as the case may be? No, we know the tactics. The aim is that the government just want to keep him, perhaps maybe because they want to negotiate with him. Particularly this government has interest on Nnamdi Kanu. Maybe they want to use Nnamdi Kanu as a bait to securing the Eastern Nigeria Southeast vote. And that is the reason. And those who have come out to protest now are smarter than the government. I must tell you that. So now they've kept him, and people came out to say, if you can rehabilitate terrorists, bandits in the north, and send them into the society they destroyed to also go into that society, then why not free this man?
All right, I think we still have, as you see, that's the report, the visuals on what transpired yesterday at the FCT led by Omoyele Sowore. You could see the placards showing free Nnamdi Kanu now, and of course the need for speedy justice that have been waiting for, that Nigerians have waited for a long time, yet they still get to see the end to it. But again, what does this really make in terms of having laws, implemented, most especially as regards protection of the fundamental rights of the citizens? And of course, we had this very, very robust, contribution by Ahmed Mamadou when he even condemned the act of the police tear gassing the citizens. And of course, he made mention of the fact that, it's not as if the activity of the protesters should be applauded. But I don't know if we can still get connectivity with Ahmed Mamadou from the United States via Zoom. Let's get your comment on it. But while we wait for that connectivity, a lot has been said as regards how to get it right in terms of our constitutional provision in order to protect the inherent rights, inalienable rights of the citizens. But again, I know a lot has been made in terms of contributions on the need for our rights of the citizens to be protected. But again, don't forget the fact that there is this big risk when it comes to, you know, releasing a personality of that nature, most especially when it has been tagged as terrorism related.
Is it not the same government we see? You tag a person of that magnitude. I ask a simple question: is Nnamdi Kanu a terrorist? Can the government boldly tell you and me, tell Nigerians that Nnamdi Kanu is a terrorist and that Nnamdi Kanu took part in terrorism?
Well, that's what the charges are alleged.
Can the government boldly say it? They can't, and that is why you see the delay in his prosecution. It's a schemed tactics by the government just to keep him for as long as God knows when, as they desire just now.
Okay.
So the right of every citizen as guaranteed in the extant constitution. Why is the government not obeying it?
Okay, but some have said, well, there could be a political solution, you know, to all of this. And most especially when we have the president who has always, you know, considered, you know, finding lasting solutions to issues around this nature. You spoke about, you know, the release of some
drop by runs.
Yeah, you know, you also spoke about that. So, what do you see as the way forward in government practice in terms of getting it right, of protecting the rights of the citizens? As a legal practitioner, where do the protesters or Nigerian citizens, you know, what can they hold upon, you know, against any attacks by the law enforcement agents to seek redress in court?
A man without arms, a man that doesn't bear arms, is going on his peaceful protest, and a group of men who are licensed to protect that man now attack that man. How do you think the man can what do you think the man can do? The only safeguard for that man is to go back to the courts to fight for his fundamental rights. But here we are. You know one unique thing about the protest of yesterday? The protest of yesterday is 25/10/2025. The protest EndSARS was 2010-2020.
5 years anniversary yesterday.
So you cannot see the connection between the EndSARS protest and the Free Nnamdi Kanu protest. 5 years after the EndSARS, how many of the security agencies have been prosecuted? Even the soldiers were made to understand that they are no soldiers. Is that not what they told us? If you not say, okay, the government, the same government, can this government investigate the attacks on peaceful protesters yesterday, when the government indeed sent them against the people and raised a counter-protest group somewhere who were protected by policemen? So something is wrong somewhere, definitely. And I want to tell you that this is not the country of our dream. This is not the Nigeria of our dream. As a child, when I was growing up over there in the north, I used to think that one day Nigeria will be greater than this. But here we are. We have leaders who are not interested in the safety of the people. Leaders who are not interested in the development of Nigeria.
You may be wrong if you say that.
I am not wrong.
You may be wrong.
I am telling you that, look.
They say uneasy lies the head that wears a crown, and he who wears the shoes knows where it pinches most. Look,
which shoe are they wearing?
Don't forget the fact.
Don't
forget the fact of you made mention of it. You just reminded me, though. We said it while we were opening the show as regards the EndSARS saga that made 5 years yesterday. You saw the destruction that trailed the protests that ended chaotically. You saw what happened. And so going by what our common patrimony is used to build for years, to just go down in few seconds just because of a protest that was not properly managed, don't you see the efforts of the law enforcement agents trying to protect that?
It's on records that even the EndSARS protests, those who caused the mayhem were raised by the government. It's on record. The protesters were peaceful. We saw the Lekki toll gate experience. Did they bear arms? Were they carrying weapons?
Okay, what best way would the police, law enforcement agents, what best way would they have performed yesterday without tear gassing the protesters, even though reports have it that the protesters were approaching the Aso Villa?
The best way for the police. Wait, I don't know what is because some group of persons are protesting to Aso Villa, perhaps because they have taken through various medium to get to the president, to understand the plight of Nigerians, and maybe it has been discovered that information is not getting to the president.
Okay.
And somebody is now saying, oh,
but don't forget the restraining order as put by the police force that restricted the protest to get close to the presidential villa, as in the Aso Villa that houses the presidential villa and, of course, the National Assembly and Court of Appeal. Again, what should the law enforcement agents would have done without tear gassing the protesters as they saw protesters approaching the Aso Villa? That's the question I asked.
We saw how it is done in other crimes. What all the security agencies ought to have done, maybe create a red line and a green line, and stand and ensure that there is no further movement.
Okay, but the policemen barricaded.
The barricades we are claiming. Where was the barricade? The canisters, they were shot at the protesters. Where? Was it at the Aso Villa premises? The answer is a no. The answer is a no. So if you tell me that, oh, the canisters that were shot at the protesters was because they were approaching the Aso Villa premises, is that it? We have water canisters. Were they used? Why will you be using bullets on the people? The same people you are paid.
We don't have reports that bullets were used.
That was what they told us.
The canisters.
That was what they told us.
Canisters.
That was what they told us at during the EndSARS.
All right, thank you.
And yet we saw they were victims.
Okay.
But till today, no investigation, nothing. So where are we going to in this country?
Thank you so much.
I think the government should think of better ways of approaching the people's plight than this.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel Obakolo, a legal practitioner. Well, basically, I'm afraid there's much we can take from the Mini Network Center, and we'll continue to interrogate the process, but we must say that the voice of the people basically formed the government, and so the government and the functionaries should ensure to protect the citizenry.